should be played at high volume. This should be played at high volume. This should be played at high volume. Preferably in a residential area.
The following thoughts on Hoppe Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you. Voted as best local podcast in Tampa Bay by the Creative Loafing. You're listening to Hoppe Hour.
What up? What's happening? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, and I have a very special guest. I have been plugging away Cigar City comedy since I first saw Law Smith perform live in August. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm from Cigar City Comedy, Mona Chiarizio.
How has everything been?
Good. It's been crazy the last couple of months, but...
There's that announcement that you're now pregnant?
Yeah, I'm pregnant. So it's actually been a little bit slower in the comedy portion for the last couple of months. I got back on stage, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, and it was definitely an experience.
Are you using your new news as like material of being pregnant?
I'm slowly incorporating it into my routine, but I have a crazy story. So I took all this time off for the first trimester, and then I went back. I made it to the final round of a recent comedy competition, which I then had to back out of. But I had like this crazy thing happen. I don't know, people just act weird around pregnant ladies. I think that there's just not many female comics that people are used to seeing.
Yeah.
And especially not, I guess, pregnant female comics.
Yeah, I could see how that's weird because I feel like people are on edge by comics that are females. Do you get that vibe at all?
No, I think people are pretty open overall. I really don't think comic-wise, like comic to comic, I think that there's like a weird arc to it being a female comic. Like there's this beginning portion of it where you're just a girl. Like you're in a group of guys who are kind of awkward. They're really cliquey. They're a little weird, but it's fun because, I mean, to do this, I think you have to be a little weird gender, like, regardless. Yeah. And then you get over this point, like, once you, like, really establish, like, who you are, your voice, you start doing better at shows, you jump this, like, really cool, like, milestone of it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a male, you just have to be good and do a good show.
What was the one show that you had when you're like, I'm good at this?
I don't know. I think I got a lot of traction right off the bat. It's funny now. Like, I'll go back to the Northeast, and then I'm like, oh, my gosh, that guy hosted for me.
Yeah.
But he's also on television now, so that's awesome. I guess. Oh, I actually do know, because I had been doing it for a little while. Getting on stage, and it was difficult to navigate because you didn't, in the beginning, as a female, you're like, are people laughing at me because they think I'm funny or because they think I'm cute or it's just different.
Yeah.
So I could never really like read the crowd enough. And one day I went down to Sarasota, and I went over to McCurdy's, and it was great. It was like for the first time, like the light switch went on of like, oh, when people are laughing, just stop talking and enjoy the moment. So now it's like, it's cool. I mean, it's been really awesome. I've been a semifinalist on Florida's Funniest a couple of years. I got into Laughing Skull a couple of years ago.
That's cool.
Yeah, I wasn't able to go. I had to decline it, just thinking like that the next year it would be a shoo-in, and it hasn't been since then. Just in the World Series of Comedy, which is a fun experience as well. But so the story from a couple of weeks ago that kind of put me on hiatus, I did a show, and I won't name names or anything like that, but during the show, I had someone who was like super drunk right after the pregnancy announcement.
Yeah.
I had someone that was super drunk come up to me and like get in my face.
Was he? Yeah, well, he was drunk, but what happened when he got in your face?
So he got in my face, and then it just kind of like escalated quickly. And then I got up to leave, and then he bucked up, and then the next thing I do, I was like, holy shit, can I curse here?
Yeah, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Oh, okay, so to make sure. And then all of a sudden it just escalated to the point where I had to leave, and I was in the parking lot, and I was being followed in the parking lot.
Are you serious? Where was this? Ybor City?
It was just at a show, and it was just crazy because, I will say I am pretty much, I can instigate a situation and really, like, just make it crazy. But now it's like, whoa, I'm pregnant. I have to protect a child. So hopefully I'll be back booking shows sometime soon.
Would you say you're ready to be a mom?
I would think so. I hope so. But I don't know if it's something that, like, you're ever really ready to do.
Yeah.
So I think it happens. Like, there's never a good time. You might be 16 or you might be 40 years old, and then the time is just that moment is the right time.
Did you go through mood swings in life where you go, okay, I want kids, and then a few years later, I don't want kids, and then a few years later, maybe you meet law, and then you said, I do want kids? Or have your whole life, have you known that you wanted to have kids? Like, what's that like?
I think I've always wanted to have kids. I just didn't know. I think when I was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I kind of was like, I was like, I'm just going to have kids, and it's, that's just what I want to do. And it kind of changes as you get older.
It seems weird. You have all this responsibility. Like, there was someone that came in on my show last month that said it perfectly. It's like you have a little foreign baby, and you have to teach it English and teach it everything. And I feel like that's one thing that we underlook is everything they learn is from us if we were to be parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be awesome. I mean, my parents definitely had fun with me as a kid. I'm pretty sure they told me that flamingos were fake. So I went my entire life thinking that flamingos weren't real animals. I thought they were like unicorns. And then I think in college at some point, someone was like, oh my gosh, we're going to see these flamingos. And I was like, hey, retard, flamingos aren't real.
Would you say your whole life your parents pulled pranks on you out of love,
I think so. Well, it's different. Like, my mom is from South Korea. So with English being her second language, it was very different growing up, because when you have, like, English is full of adjectives and synonyms and sarcasm, and really other languages don't have that. Yeah. So I think my mom is always, like, pretty much being as straightforward as possible, but it's some of the most, like, hilarious things that I've ever heard, Would
you say that the things that your mom taught you and the type of parent that she was, are you going to translate that into being a mom?
I think so. I think my parents were... The one thing that I really loved about my parents is that they never really set any precedents. Like, I was like, I want to be a bird, they'd be like, cool, you can go and be a bird. And there was never any type of, like, you can't do that.
So they never, like, forced religion down your throat?
No, I mean, I think I had a pretty normal upbringing, like,
because I had that. Stuff. My mom and my dad wanted me to be Roman Catholic. I went through all the things, communion, all of that, and it makes me almost angry against being Catholic just because it's so nauseating. Like, I don't get the whole thing of, like, religion,
Yeah, I think that religion overall is, like, a pretty good thing, where it's like it is. I mean, I think that it's kind of like, I always explain it as like, religion is kind of like science at some point. That's just early science, right? Like, that's how things happen. People explained it. And then you move on. So science to me is almost like religion, because the things that we know today could very well be completely wrong in like 100 or 1,000 years.
I just think it's weird because it takes over people's lives where they become so moral and so against gay marriage and women's rights. That's when I get nauseated, because that's what my dad was like and that's what my mom is now. They're so conservative. That's where I get turned off, is when they're so in their ways, and they can't adjust with the times.
Yeah, and I don't even think like that the Bible really says anything like that. It's just like how people interpret it.
Yeah.
So,
I think priests are weird too. The whole concept of giving your life to God and not having sex and being so uptight and being this leader, there's something about it. Even if you put the whole thing aside with all the abuse cases with kids, just the thing of being a priest to me has always creeped me out, Yeah,
I don't know. I guess I didn't really have. I grew up in kind of like a Catholic environment. And I mean, the priest, I think it's just wherever you are. You're going to have good priests. You're going to have bad police.
It's like good cops, bad cops.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's good teachers. There's teachers in Florida that bang their students. Like it's going to be like anything else.
I see that happening more than ever. I don't know if it's because of online porn or if it's just because it keeps happening in the news that it keeps happening. But you're a bit more older than me. You're in your 30s. I'm 22, so I haven't seen that much of the world. Is it getting worse?
I think it's just more accessible.
Yeah.
Right? Like before the whole world is just so accessible now. Like before it was you were the one weirdo in your group of 20 friends.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you can just reach out and touch any weirdo you want. So you don't have the people around you going, "Hey, you're being a fucking creep."
Yeah.
Now you can go and find those other creeps and like band together. So I do think that like definitely makes it a little worse now. I mean, I feel like there was a point where it was just squashed at some point. But at this point, like it's, I don't know. I can say this. I mean, I was an adorable child, so I almost got kidnapped twice.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How? What happened?
I mean, I was an adorable kid, so I get it. So no, I grew up outside of Philadelphia, and I went to I would say my aunt's house, who was right by St. Joe's.
Yeah.
In Overbrook. And I was just outside, like, jumping rope, and some guy in a car came up and was like, "We need to go get lottery tickets."
That is the typical kidnapping.
Right? I mean, I feel like he was like, little Asian child. She probably likes candy or gambling. Gambling is it. So, luckily, my dad came out. I was, like, getting in the car.
How old were you?
I had to be, like, 9 or 10.
Yeah, so you were at the age where you're trying to figure out, is this guy good or bad? You weren't like 5 where you trust anyone. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. I'm from like such a small town that I was like, oh, cool. I'm just going to show you how to get lottery tickets. I pick out really good ones. It was just, I don't know.
And then what was the second time you almost got kidnapped?
The second time, there was like just some weirdo living in the woods.
And you were in the woods?
Yeah, it was like a bunch of my girlfriends.
What happened?
I don't know. It was like a bunch of my girlfriends like looking for a tree fort or something like that. We were just in the woods, and there's some weirdo in the woods. And
Do weird things happen in small towns because you're trying to find fun?
I think so. Because
I kind of get that vibe, because it seems like the people that lived in small towns that moved down here, that's the reason why Florida is so crazy. We have all these transplants that are just taking over, you know?
I guess so. I mean, yeah, you don't ever really meet somebody from Tampa, minus my husband.
But people from Tampa don't have much culture. But that's not exactly true, because you guys are really big into gasparilla. And I feel like that's the one time that Tampa ever has culture, you know?
No, I mean, I think there's plenty of things. It's just a small, big town, you know? There's like tons of museums.
Everybody knows everybody. It's very odd, you know?
Yeah, that part is definitely.
Especially if you're in radio or comedy, everybody knows somebody. It's like a very small town of networking. Like, it's a big city. We have sport teams, we have bridges, we have beaches. But it has the vibe of like a Grand Rapids, Michigan. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I don't know about radio so much, but definitely with comedy. I feel like though with comedy, it's it's almost like a fraternity.
It really is.
It's like wherever you go in the country, you have somebody in common. So I guess radio is like the same.
Yeah. It's a small world where you can't burn bridges. And I'm assuming it's the same thing in comedy, and it's like this in radio. The egos just gets so nauseating. It's like, how do you take yourself that seriously, you know?
I think it's like across the board. It definitely is across the board, but sometimes you meet people that are like super duper nice. Like Sebastian Maniscalco was like the nicest comic that I've ever met. And then you just have people that you just never expect to be such dicks.
It's the narcissism where they love themselves. It's really creepy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, too, like, when you're starting out, that's, like, the weirdest thing. I always tell the comics, like, 2 things. Because when people start out right away, they look for the folks that are working, and they always want some type of feedback from them. And it's hard to give it to somebody because really this is, like, the reason why joke theft is such a big thing. Like, your jokes, whether they're like a story about you as a kid or in college, or they're like the dumbest like wiener and fart joke, it's something that's like personal to you. So it's hard to like tell somebody, do something that's personal to you. So I am always like, it sounds like so hypocritical since I married another comic.
Yeah.
But I really waited a ton of time. I just didn't want to date any other comics when I started.
What was it about Law that you liked?
I don't know. We actually had seen each other for like, I want to say a couple of months. Like, I don't remember ever talking right away. And then the first time that we talked, it just never stopped.
Yeah.
So it was just, I don't know. I guess it was personality. And I mean, he's got a nice butt. Like, that was definitely.
He's in good shape. Like, I'm in very average shape where I'm not fat, but I'm not like ripped. And there's days because I intern with him at his company, Toco Works, and he'll be wearing these tight shirts. And I'm like, damn, dude, you hit the gym, man.
Yeah, he's in really good shape. He has, like, freakish genetics. Like, that's just how he is. But I figure you're, like, so tall. It's probably so hard to work out.
It's weird because I just don't think I'm going to ever be in that great a shape. Like, I worked out today. I'm not trying to be a douche, but my arms feel okay. But then you look at a picture and you're like, I'm a little chubby. It's because you're so tall, it's hard not to have little love handles because you have so much to take care of, you know?
I don't think you have love handles. I think you're just really tall. I mean, you look slender, like...
I appreciate that.
You
I think I'm
very
too hard
nice.
on myself.
I think you're too hard on yourself.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think it's because when you go to the gym, I don't know if you feel the same way, we're in good shape compared to the rest of America. But when you go to the gym, you're going to have the meatheads where you're looking at them and you're like, oh, man, I want to be like them. That's the problem is when you go to the gym, you're not as good as everyone because they're more ripped.
I mean, I think that's like a Tampa thing, too. Like, people are just really in shape here.
Oh, my God. There's old people that are like in their 50s that are benching like 300 on each side of the bar. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm doing 45 over here. I feel average.
Yeah, there was a trainer there who was trying to entice me to do some training classes, and she was pregnant and like lifting so many heavy things, and I felt she was like, these are like normal moves that anyone should be able to do, and I was like, I just feel real. I like it almost worked. I went home and I was like, I need $1,000.
Yeah,
because she's pregnant and I have to look like this.
That's my thing too, is I feel like I need a trainer, but they cost so much money, and then I don't have time to have a regimen where I have a workout buddy. I have friends that work out, but everyone has different schedules. That's the problem with working out, is I get sidetracked. You know what I mean?
You should just find somebody at the gym who has a trainer and get on their schedule.
That's a good point.
And just follow them around. Like when they're on the treadmill, you go to the treadmill and just stay like the far enough like distance away. I feel like you're so tall, even if you got close enough, like no one would say anything to you. Like,
oh, I'm so tall and just very obvious and a little bit awkward where you would notice me, my 7-foot frame, even though I'm 6'8", just trying to join the class.
Are you 6'8"?
Yeah, I'm 6'8".
Wow, that's crazy.
I realized how tall I was because I went to the bars last night in downtown St. Pete, and I was at one night, and I see this dude who's 7 foot and white like me and tall and just has proper
You're white?
hair.
Get out.
How could you tell?
What? I would never have done this. No, okay.
Yeah, you would never assume I'm white. Yeah, he's like 7 foot, and I'm looking up at him, and I'm like, holy fuck. That's how everybody views me 24/7, because you never see anybody that's more tall than me.
So, wait, who do you date? Do you date, like, short girls, or do you date tall girls?
Well, I had a girlfriend. It was my first girlfriend. I had one about... We broke up 3 weeks ago. I dumped her, and we went out for 7 weeks, and she was really short. And I'm just used to everybody being short, so it wasn't a problem, but it was kind of weird.
Why'd you jump her? Now I'm so interested. I'm married now. I'm like, it's so funny. The other day I was, I have a day job too, and I was like, holy shit. I had a little hiatus from stand-up, and I was like, I'm a mom that does, like, analysis. I'm officially the funniest person in my office. I want to die. Like, this is the worst thing I could possibly think of. Like, when people are like, that Mona in accounting. I'm like, oh my God, I have to go write more and get out.
How much comedy do you get from work?
I really try to keep it as separate as possible. Like, there'll just be like a couple things, like just kind of those like normal office things that happen for everybody, but
because you never know who would see your show where they would get offended. You can't just be like, oh, my boss is a douche.
Yeah, and it kind of is like so generic anyway, so
it's kind of hacky, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just want to, like, I don't know, it just to me, it's like two separate things. I think I'm super competitive overall. Like,
Yeah.
work is work, and I want that to be awesome. And when I'm doing stand-up, that's like stand-up, and I want that to be awesome.
How often are you thinking of prep during the day? Because for me, these interviews are fun, so I have some prep in my mind, but I don't have a ton. But when I do the rants, I have to find the news, so that takes about an hour. So for you, is it where you're thinking about it all day and you try to find things? How do you do prep?
I think most of my writing just comes like organically.
Yeah.
So if you watch my stuff from 3 years ago, it was what was happening in my life at 3 years ago.
That makes sense.
And now it's what's happening, I really liked all the stuff that I wrote last year when I was getting married and I was getting my citizenship and stuff like that. And now, I'm pregnant. So it's a lot of stuff of like the hurdles that were, like those hurdles that you have as being a pregnant couple.
Yeah.
One, I like shout out to any single mom because I can't even imagine doing this by myself. Like there's just, it's just like being really drunk, but not having anything to drink. Like, you're hungover. You feel hungover every morning.
So you feel sick every morning because of that?
Yeah, you're just like
That
sick.
sucks.
You're just like throwing up. I mean, it's just like super unsexy. And then you go into your second trimester. Like the first trimester, I just was like, listen, I love you, Law, but I do not want you to touch me. Like, this is just not like right now. I just feel so gross and so many things are going on. You have like
That
crazy
sucks.
Hormones. You're crying over French toast.
What
like,
do you eat?
Anything. Like, I haven't had McDonald's in forever. I had it on the way here. But you're like, I don't know. It's just so weird. And we went to our one of our first like doctor's visits, and then you see the baby. And then the baby looks like a baby. Like, by like 2 months, the baby looks like a baby.
How surreal is that?
It's crazy. It's like jumping up and down, and it's
Are you
wiggling
serious?
and flipping.
That's
and,
awesome.
Like, trying to suck its thumb. And I just, like, as soon as that happened, I like turned to Law, and we got home, and I was like, I don't know about having like relations. I just don't want you to jizz on my baby. Like, I just don't even know. I don't know what happens after that. Like, it was just, to me, I was like, the whole thing was like, you look at it like it's a whole baby. And you just think about like when you like when you don't have any money and you go to Vegas and you're having a great time and you leave the pack and everyone's wasted and you get there and you're like, cool, before the 20 other friends come in, I'm going to camp out on this couch. And then everyone comes swarming in. That's all I kept thinking. I was like, you're not jizzing on my baby. Then you fast forward like to like another month. And then my hormones have completely gone the opposite way, where I'm like trying to seduce him around every corner, and all he can think about is not jizzing on the baby. And I'm like,
But
oh, hey.
it doesn't really interact with it, does it?
I don't know. So our joke right now is that I was like, well, just give him a little brother. And Law was like, that's not how that works. And I was like, you're no doctor or scientist. Like, maybe that is how it works.
Well, it's weird because going back to me having a girlfriend, for sex, dudes just want to have it all the time, but for girls, it's much more emotional. So I feel like if you throw yourself onto Law, it'll be easy to get laid. It's not like it's going to take a lot of work.
But now it's different, right? Like now, like you're just set with certain positions, and that is it. Like,
are you going to be someone that's going to take like maybe surgery or workout classes after the pregnancy to get your body back? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to sound like a sexist pig. I'm just always wondering. I know some women do that where they have the surgeries and the operations to save their body, or are you not going to care? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, I would think that we're going to have more than one kid.
Yeah.
So I kind of don't want to spend the money to just like break it again. Like,
Yeah, right.
maybe after like
It seems very superficial.
No, because I mean, no one talks to you about the stuff that goes on with pregnancy. All of a sudden, you get pregnant, and actually, pregnancy is just like comedy. In comedy, the worst person is always going to give you advice first.
Yeah.
And in pregnancy, the worst person is always going to give you advice first. It's always the person that's like, oh no, it's totally fine. Like, there's all those rules, like you can't have sushi, you can't eat deli meats, you can't do this, you can't do that. And there's always like the one mom that's like, oh no, I was drinking like Jack and Vicodin the whole time, and he's totally all right. And you're like, actually, I've met your kid. No, he's not. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't want to say anything because he's 5. Like, but I'm not trying to talk shit to a 5-year-old, but he's definitely like, don't put the money away for college.
There are so many parents that are their kids' best friends now. It is sickening. It's like, what's going on with the world?
I know. You're like, no, your kid should be like scared shitless of you. That's why, like, I mean, Law and I talk about this all the time. Like, there's so much like participation trophy. Like, I blame Rudy.
The pussification of America.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has like Rudy Rudiger. Like, I can't like
Who is that?
The Notre Dame guy, like Rudy the movie.
Oh yeah.
I can't stand him. I think like that's where America took the wrong turn. Like, listen, sometimes you need talent, sometimes you need presence, sometimes you have to be physically like able to do that, and he wasn't. And they were like, you know what? There's all these other guys that are totally like right on the borderline. They should get in this game, but he's been trying really hard. Like, have some self-respect. Like, that's what you do with like kids that have disabilities. You're like, all right, little Ricky's gonna throw out the first pitch. Like, you're a normal operating kind of small human being. Like, how like, oh great, now he's a motivational speaker. Like, what is he motivating?
How are you going to approach social media? Because I can only imagine in like 12 to 13 years when it's going to be the nicest, up-to-date iPhones and wherever we have Facebook or Twitter, how are you going to approach social media? Because by then it's going to be even more frightening and even more accessible.
Oh, man. I'm hoping that I mean, listen, I'm hoping to just like embarrass our kid as much as possible.
That's what I want to do.
Like,
give him a Razor from 2005 and never let him. Hell, give him a brick phone from the 90s. I'm not letting my kid ever have nice things when it comes to phones.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, you're out to a dinner and like a little kid's pulling out like an iPhone 7
and playing Angry Birds,
and you're like, how the fuck does this kid have an iPhone 7? I have like, look at my phone right now. Like, it literally, I have dropped it so many times. It's filled with cracks. Like, it doesn't text all the time.
Look at mine. It's average.
Oh, my. Yeah. No, I mean, you don't have any cracks in there. Like,
well, I got lucky so far. I mean, I have some.
You don't even have it. Do you have a case on there?
I do have a case. I have this, but I take it off because it won't let me plug it in. These cases are weird. They make it seem like it's so great when you go to Best Buy and Target, and they're like, you need this case. It's up to date. And it's good, but then you can't charge it. So what's the point?
Well, why can't they just make the phones better? Like, I don't understand. Like,
they are hiding the power to have the battery life last for days. Trust me, they'll add that to the iPhone 20. There's no way in hell that they don't have better battery life. It's unreal.
But no, I mean, not even the battery life. Like, you buy the phone, every phone needs a case. So who gives a shit that your phone's like as thick as a piece of paper?
Yeah.
But wait a minute, you need to go get like a suitcase to put around your phone and still walk around with it. Like, I feel like it's like Stone Soup. Like, they're just selling you like, oh, this is gonna work great. Look, this phone is invisible. You just need to buy this tangible phone and put your invisible phone in there.
Remember when Jobs was alive and it was cool to watch the press conferences because each time they actually had upgrades to the phone, and now you watch it and they're like, it's skinnier and it's bigger, and you're like, all right, dude.
Well, I mean, that whole thing that's on the commercials now with like, they're like, whoa, but wait a minute, these photos move. No shit, it's called a video. Like, you didn't make anything. It's like the highest statement I've ever heard. It's like someone like, oh shit, we made moving photos. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. And people are like, oh, I need moving photos. You have it. Like,
you can talk through this brick.
Yeah, like, oh my God, look at that. Here's the moment, and then other moments. I'm like, you've been taking videos. Like, YouTube is a thing. Like,
it's been around for 10 years. It's not new.
Oh my God, it's just so weird. But my phone does like weird, like hijacking shit. Like,
are you serious?
It'll just, because it's so cracked right now. I guess there's actually physically like something wrong with the phone.
Yeah.
So at random moments, it'll just take like it'll just record my voice and send it to somebody.
That is random. I am the king of weird pocket dials. I have some big names in radio on my phone that are in different cities that are top-rated shows. Like, they're professional contacts. and it's always them that I end up pocket dialing. It's not my mom or my friend.
Yeah.
Like, there's been times I'm out at the bar, and I'm not blackout drunk, but I'm drunk, and I'm like, God damn it, I called this dude for 4 minutes. Like, pocket dials can get really weird, you know?
Oh no, my last one was like the best. Like, I was freaking out. I had to keep a secret about something, and usually I'm really good about keeping secrets, and it wasn't a big deal. And people were like, "Oh, why are you so excited about something? We know something's going on." And I was like, you know what? It's not a secret like tomorrow. So if I just say it right now, totally cool. So I start off by going, all right, guys, so here's the secret. And then I say what it is.
Yeah.
Well, my phone records it and sends it to the person I'm supposed to be keeping it for.
God.
And I'm freaking out. And I'm like, oh, my God, what is happening? And I guess it only sends the voice message for like 7 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And then it disappears. And I was like, I just have 7 seconds. Don't look at your phone. Just because it wasn't even like I could be like, oh, no, it's not a big deal. I just said something. I was like, hey, guys, here's the secret that I'm keeping.
Oh, my God. That's horrible.
And then, sure enough, I'm like counting down. I was like 4, 3, and on 2, I got a text message back, and I was like, oh no, they've definitely seen it. I was like, I'm a monster, and I got caught.
What I don't like is the read thing. I don't need to know if somebody's read my message or not, because that can actually hit your emotions. You're like, wow, they read it and they don't care, you know?
Yeah, no, I know. I'm like, can you turn that off? Is there a way? No.
I hate knowing that because there's times where you can actually get a clue, though. You're like, okay, they don't want to talk to me anymore.
What if it was just like, instead of saying red, like iPhone 7, it just says, does not give a shit. Like, that's what it says.
Fuck you.
I hate you. You're like, oh, okay, nice.
What's weird, too, is 10 years ago, our phone was nothing, but now we're almost more unhappy because our phone gives us emotions. Like, the smartphone is taking over the world. It's sad, Mona.
Oh, no. I mean, my favorite thing was like I actually still am trying to memorize Lal's phone number.
Really?
Like, we'll go out places. I mean,
you don't need to know it.
Well, I mean, I can tell you my phone number from when I was 5. I can tell you my best friend from like growing up, her phone number. But Law's, I'm like, holy shit.
727.
Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh. Like, you look, like, people look at you like, are you guys really married? And you're like, it's on my phone.
Well, that's probably middle-aged people that don't know that you can just have a contact.
I know, but still, it seems sad. Like, no, I got into a thing where my phone died and I had to contact him, and I was like, they're like, well, what's his number? And I was like, I don't know. I sounded like a lost child. Like, I'm not sure. I can spell his name.
What about GPS? That's what scares me is I know nothing about directions.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the GPS, when I drove down here from Cleveland and I moved, I would have been in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and in Mexico. I don't even know directions, Mona.
I like when it sends you to the wrong place.
Yeah. And you're like, God damn it, the one time, and you're getting mad at the phone when you don't know shit.
Yeah, when one of my girlfriends and I drove down from the Northeast to Florida like a bunch of years, and it took us off like 95, which is literally like, to get from New Jersey to Florida, you just go south on like 95.
Yeah.
There are no turns. Like, nothing else happens, and the GPS is like, make a left turn, and took us. Then we were like, well, maybe we're hungry. We're like going like stop and go. It like took us from like a 20-hour trip to like a 40-hour trip, and I was like, I think something's wrong. And we're like, all right, well, we'll figure it out after we get food. And we're like, Panda Express, which is disgusting. I don't know why we chose that. I can't even in my head. It's so gross.
It's the worst Asian food.
Oh my God, it's so disgusting. Like, that whole idea, like, you're like, do you know what I really need? Fast food sushi. I need to go to a place that's going to give me like the lowest grade uncooked fish.
How mad are you because you're an Asian woman? How mad is it that people see that as Chinese food?
Oh, do they? I didn't even know that.
I don't know.
I'm
just
not
saying
sure.
that.
Like, I don't know. I'm like so not scared. I mean, like, obviously, we're like so excited we're gonna have a boy. We're so excited.
Law's gonna be pumped.
I know.
He's gonna be a manly man.
I know. I feel like I'm kind of a manly lady. Like, overall,
you're kind
like,
of a tomboy.
Yeah, like I cried over that fucking movie Max the other day.
Max? About a dog?
Yeah. I was like hysterically crying. I am pretty sure I like dogs more than people. Like, 90% of the time, and I was like crying hysterically, and I just kept thinking like, oh my gosh, like, I'm like, we're trying to think about like the baby stuff, and like you get weird questions like the last time we went to the doctor, like, do you want him circumcised? And then you're like, oh man, like I'm kind of a tiger mom where I'm like, well, I guess we do, but then you're like, oh man, I hope my son has a big dick. Like it's like the weirdest thing. God, but I was gonna say something different.
Well, yeah, I just see Law being the guy that's going to make your son a man. He'll watch football.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, there's Johnny B waving.
From the PDRS on 102.5 The Bone.
What's
and the
up?
Johnny B Show. Every Sunday from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. He is crashing into the podcast like he always does. A very emotional hug to Mona.
I love her.
Johnny B is the best. Do you see how fat he looks? He's looking so fat.
I loved your post the other day.
Very, very rude. Mona Chiarizio Smith is the funniest. What?
You look so skinny, dude. It's like insane.
47 pounds, ho.
Hell yes.
But what were you going to say about Mona, Johnny, before you go back to doing your show with the one and only kid named Mo?
Ooh.
Back right now.
Have fun. I love Johnny
him.
B.
Me too. He's so sweet. Speaking of like dads, like what a great dad.
Oh, he cares about his kids so much. It's inspiring, and I don't even like kids.
You don't like, how about you? Do you want kids at some point?
I don't know.
Do you have kids out there that you just don't know about?
No, no, trust me, I haven't. Do you want to hear how I lost my virginity?
Of course.
To a 49-year-old fan of the show I worked on in Cleveland.
Shut up. I just vomited in my mouth a little. How old are you?
I was 21 at that point. I'm 22.
Wait. So how does this go? How does this go down? Like, were you just trafficked by your radio station, or like you were out somewhere and this lady met you?
Well, she actually wasn't bad looking. Like, you could tell she was hot in the 80s, but the problem was it's not the 1980s anymore. Basically, she hit me up on Facebook. She's like, you're really cute. I like watching you on RMG TV, Rover's Morning Glory. It's basically like Howard TV. It's the same thing.
Oh my gosh, I'm still a little nauseated by this. Okay, keep going. Keep going.
You're so nauseated. Yeah, and she goes, you're so cute. Can you come over? Make sure you bring beer. So I come over randomly, and we just begin making out, and we had sex. We did it like 4 times. It's weird. I don't know much about Sandy, but we had sex.
So, wait, that's it? Like, you just go to her house? She's like, she didn't even ask for dinner. She was like, just bring beer?
And dick.
Oh, gross.
Welcome to Cleveland. But Cleveland's no different than, like, Lakeland or Bradenton. Like, you can make fun of the Midwest all you want, but there are some weird women down here.
Are there? Have you had like any of these other? Like...
I did. I had sex with a girl a few times that lived in a trailer park in Dover.
Delaware? Like Dover? Delaware?
Dover, the town next to Brandon. It's called Dover.
I don't even know. I don't know anything about Florida, honestly.
Yeah, it's right by Brandon. It's basically Brandon, but that was actually a good lay. She was 29, but she had 2 kids. That was weird. The kids were sleeping in the other part of the room, and not the other part of the room, the other part of the house. So they're on this side, and then her bed's on the other side of the house. And I'm like, I'm getting laid while the kids are here. I'm like, this is odd.
Oh my gosh, did they just immediately start calling you dad?
Oh man, she was a mess in life too. Guess how romantic I am.
How romantic are you?
I took her to see Mike Jones.
Oh Mike Jones pretty good. I mean,
Mike Jones, and then do you remember the song Chang Hang Low by Jibbs?
No.
Or do you remember the song This Is Why I'm Hot?
Oh yeah.
That's who they were playing in Pinellas Park. Nothing is more romantic than taking a 29-year-old mom from Brandon to see Mike Jones in 2016.
I don't know. Mike Jones is pretty cool. I mean, that whole chopped and screwed phenomenon was great.
Everyone forgets about how every rap song was chopped and screwed back then. It was weird.
Oh, it was awesome.
Get crunk.
Oh my gosh. I just saw, what was that? Straight Outta Compton?
Yeah.
I think I'm like in love with Ice Cube now.
Oh, he was a badass. He did not fuck around with that music label when they took his shit. Just smashed the whole room.
I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I'm totally on board with like, are we there yet? And all that like weird shit that he does now.
Why?
Because he just seems like it seems like he's so talented that he'll just make it in whatever situation. And I was a little disappointed that they weren't really like, they were kind of nerds. honestly.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't really doing anything. They were
But
just
I was
able to
wondering
describe.
if maybe that movie was going to paint a spotlight to make them look innocent, because they left out the part
Where
the
Dr.
one
Dre beats the
up
shit up the female reporter.
Yeah, oh yeah, whatever. Let's leave that out. And then they made Eazy-E seem like he got AIDS from just nothing. It was either gay sex or doing drugs, but they made it seem like it was cough, cough, and then he dies. I liked the movie. Don't get me wrong. I give it 3 out of 4. It was fine. But
There was the one part though in the total spoiler alert. It doesn't have anything to it won't impact how you view the movie. But the one part where they're in the hotel where they're like banging all the hoes at one point, and then I'm so excited, but and then they're banging all those hoes, and they're they get into the almost gunfight in the hallway, but all the guys grab guns and one guy just comes out with a beer, and I was like, oh, I love that guy. You guys got this, right? Just gonna hang back here.
Yeah, I feel like that movie tried to paint a spotlight where Dr. Dre is this innocent guy that loses his brother and fights adversity. Eazy-E.
Yeah.
I loved how I feel like the Ice Cube portrayal, because that was his son.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the one real thing. Everything else was over the top.
Yeah, and Suge Knight, and he looked like a little villain, rubbing his hands together.
Yeah, they made Suge Knight look awful.
Yeah, that Suge Knight just seemed you're oh, okay, he beat somebody up, but also
Suge Knight
kind
is
of
pretty
rub
bad,
it.
though.
He does seem. I had to Google everybody after it, that movie and The Big Short, immediately after.
What's The Big Short?
It's about the financial crisis in 2008. Sounds super boring, but it's really
Law
good.
made a post saying it's better than the Leonardo DiCaprio
The
movie.
Wolf of Wall Street. It was really good.
Did you think that was good?
Yeah, I thought it was amazing, because it's such a boring topic. It would be oh, hey guys, I'm gonna make this movie about me doing my taxes, and then the movie being amazing.
I feel like you and Law watch very eclectic movies, very different.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that one, and what else was really good this year? Joy.
Haven't seen it.
I actually went with a couple of my buddies. That was another any movie. If you can make a movie about a mop, entertaining, I'm all on board.
What do you mean a
100%.
mop? What was it about?
It's the lady who made some kind of fancy mop.
Why would I ever want to see that?
I don't know.
It was
so
good, though?
It was so good.
That shows that is a very talented director when a movie about a mop is good.
Yeah. You got Jennifer Lawrence, so she's good.
Well, yeah, anything she's in is good.
Right.
I felt bad about her leak, too. That was bullshit. Everyone's leaks got
I don't
hacked.
know.
Here's the thing that I hated. I hated when everyone said, well, they should have known better. You don't put things on the cloud. Nobody ever thought the cloud would get hacked. It was that's just people being pigs. You
Right.
know?
No, of course. It's just when you go and you have to get your phone fixed, and you're there's some weird shit on this phone. I have to really, you start, I get, guilty where I'm I need to explain this. Especially, a lot of times, my Google history looks like I'm a serial killer. Because, you'll think of a joke and you're writing it through, then you want to make sure someone else didn't do something similar, and then you want to work on some details, and, you're doing a little bit of research, and then all of a sudden you're oh, and it's, weird. You're condoms, cereals, adoption, and rap music. And you're oh, God, I hope no one ever sees this.
How much prep do you put into making sure that your jokes aren't hacky? 'Cause I feel like that's very hard to make sure you're original. I'd be scared to do comedy.
I do some of just trying to make sure that I don't overlap with anybody. I really don't care if something sounds corny. I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves. I feel the worst thing that you could do in stand up, obviously just taking out joke thievery, just take that out right away. That's obviously the worst thing. But you have to honestly be so truthful to who you are. Don't come in to stand up and if you're boys with somebody, copy their style or be so close. And it is hard. You're going to always be very similar to the folks that you're around.
Yeah.
But I can say that Law and I are very different when we're on stage. And I was we're as close as you could possibly be for two people. We're having a baby. But, I think the idea of, just really, even if you don't mean to mimic someone else, that's the worst thing you could possibly ever do.
Yeah.
because it's really, and especially like at the level that we are, it's so, I guess I would probably think that this is another like parallel to radio, that you can start doing stand-up and very quickly have access to like some of your favorite people.
It is weird. I have met everyone I've wanted to meet. I met Opie up in New York, Jim Norton, Nick DiPaolo.
Oh, Jim Norton, I love him.
I know. He is a great guy, too. He was everything I wanted him to be.
He is one of my favorites. He's super duper nice.
You've met him?
Yeah, I got to open for him a couple years ago.
That's awesome.
He was so nice. Kenny the handler.
Oh, I love Club Soda Kenny.
Yeah, he is awesome. My favorite was like after that show, like we like really like he did me a solid. He liked, my hosting, and he retweeted a picture.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first person to tell you, like, I can go from like homeless to hot and back and forth very easily.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know what you're going to get on any given day. He retweeted the picture. I'm from the Northeast. He has a lot of fans, obviously all over the country, but definitely in the Northeast. Like, it was cool. Like, I had like old teachers and coworkers and everything that saw it on Twitter.
That's awesome.
And I was so excited because it was the first time on Twitter that I had gotten like a lot of like, all of a sudden my phone was like going crazy, and I was like, oh, these like favorites and retweets and stuff like that. And then it like was the first time where one person was like, she looks really nice, and the next person was like, she looks like she got hit by a bus.
Well, that's because they have the Opie and Anthony / Opie and Jimmy fans.
Yeah.
And those are the pests, and they make a name for being mean. So that's nothing. Those are imbeciles.
No, it was like awesome. It was really, really cool because at the time I was like drunk, and it was after a show, and then Law actually had come up to like, come to the show and then leave with me, and we're in the car, and I'm like, holy shit. I was like, what is happening? I was like, some people are so nice and some people are so mean. And then I was like responding back.
Yeah.
And now there was a point where I started getting pissed because the one dude was like really trolling me hard. And then you fast forward where like it's weird, like it's like you're like a superhero on the weekends doing stand up, and at this level you go back to work on Monday and you're like, oh ho hum, back to meetings. But that Monday I went back, and this one dude was still trolling me, and I was finally like, fuck this like gym teacher from Passaic, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to deal with this. And after all that, he was like, oh, you are really funny. I'm going to follow you on Twitter now. And
That's
I was
weird.
like, oh my gosh.
I love your
so
name
funny.
on there. Tampa Bay. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Genius.
No, it was really, it's fun. Twitter is just fun. It's so addicting.
Oh, I know. It boosts my ego. I got to calm down. I think I'm going through the roof. Not in a bad way where I'll be like the guys where they have a big head. But there's things I'll say low-key where I'm like, I think that dude really likes my show. And everyone's like, shut up. You have an ego. So I'm really trying to not be too cocky, but be confident. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. It's a weird balance.
Because
like,
when you're a creative person, comics love how confident we are because we're just a bunch of cocky people trying to overcompensate. Comics, people in theater, people in radio. But when you're talking to your non-friends and you're like, oh my God, I did this show and everyone laughed and I got to hang out with Jim Norton, and they're like, shut up, you're bragging. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. I don't know. It's just so cool. All that stuff is just so cool. But like going back to the thing of being just like true to who you are, like you have all these guys, and it's and like Margaret Cho, she was my big one. I thought I was gonna cry. I was like, I love you so much. And my picture, I couldn't help but like close my eyes. I was like, I love you. And I was like, no, my one picture with Margaret Cho, I'm gonna have my eyes closed. But it's just, I don't know. It just like that to me is like, it just sucks.
Yeah.
Like just because you can't. I mean, I'm sure that's like it's like that too in radio, right? Like you have your personality, and it's probably just like a super ego of who you are normally.
Yeah, it's me times 10 when I'm on air, especially when I'm on The Bone. If I'm on Drew Garabo show or whenever I'm on Kelta show, I kind of play this character. It's kind of like wrestling. I hate wrestling with a passion, but it's sort of like that where you kind of exaggerate it on air, you know?
Right. So to me, it's like then someone comes along and they're like, oh, we're boys. And then they're around you for so long. And then they start acting like your persona. I was like, that's not cool at all.
And what I get to is whenever I get recognized at Bone events or if I get recognized at Aldi's or Target, the most random places, they go, you're a lot different off air. It's like, well, yeah, I'm not in the checkout lane saying, yo, bitch, get my order. No, I'm not a person that rips on women, but my point was I'm not the edgy, outspoken guy where I'm like, oh my God, can you hurry up? I'm pretty timid in public.
Isn't that kind of cool though? With like going back to saying how like Tampa is like a small big town, or big city. Like you can go somewhere locally. Do people stop you and like talk to you and like take pictures and stuff like that?
I wouldn't say all the time. A lot at boat events.
Even if it's like 2 times.
Yeah,
like,
it's so flattering. Last night at the bars, I was drinking, and this guy comes up, and he kept talking to me, and my friend wanted to go, and he's like, come on, dude, let's go. And I'm like, but this is someone that listens. Like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Like, it will keep happening, but every time it does, Mona, I appreciate it, because they're coming up to me to talk to me.
Yeah, no, it's so, I mean, that's like I think that's just the coolest thing. Like, it's so, I mean... down here, it was like a few times after a couple of the shows, like with Eric Griffin, who is like really like Montez from Workaholics.
Oh, nice! I love him.
He puts on a great show. He's just a cool dude.
He's so funny.
But like after that, it was like great. Like I had gone to a bunch of things, and people were like, "Hey, could we take a picture?" Like at Starbucks, and I was like, "With me? This is amazing!" Like the first time I was like taking their phone like to take a picture of them, I just thought it was like a random like,
yeah,
this is the first time we're at Starbucks. I was like, I'll take a picture of you guys, and they're like, no, we want you in the picture too. And I was like, oh my God,
you seem like you would love that.
It was really, really fun. I take awful pictures, so I'm
Why?
like, I don't know. I'm like one of those people. You know how like I'm like the opposite of a Tinder girl. Like when you go and see a Tinder girl in person, you're like, oh, no. I'm like the opposite. Like most of my, like even in our wedding photos, I'm almost positive that our wedding photographer was like, turn. I was like, why am I facing away from the camera?
Yeah.
But my husband is facing towards the camera.
You seem like you're very humble. That's what I think it is. Like, I think if you were 22 like me right now, I don't think you would be on Tinder seeking attention. You wouldn't be one of the girls like, oh my God, please like my post. That's what I like about you and Law being a married couple is if you guys go out, you take wacky selfies. You're not like, he's the best thing to happen to me. I love him. You all need a relationship like that. You guys are very humble. I was thinking about it.
Oh, thanks. No, I appreciate that. I just think, social media is like,
The
so
fake world.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like reality television. Like,
Ugh,
like
I know.
you only see the very best and the very worst,
Yeah.
So why not just like really just go and live your life? Like even during our wedding, our big thing was like we said, hey, everybody, just we have someone taking pictures. Just put down your phones. Like, there's no reason for, like, don't watch the wedding through your, like, viewfinder on your phone.
You guys are geniuses.
It was just, it was just so much nicer. Some people wanted to do it anyway, but why not? Just live in the moment. Like, I feel like we're not going to have any memories that we, like, actually remember.
I was thinking about that, too. I do have a big thing where I've had over 100 interviews. So, when I'm looking at my Facebook, it's kind of like looking at, like, what's the thing called back in the day where people had books where they would keep it collected?
Like a yearbook?
Yeah. Forget the point. Basically, my point is like, if you take a pic, that is a memory. But if you take too many pics, then it's like you don't have a memory. You just have the memory of taking the pic.
Yeah. Like I got my...
Like a scrapbook. That's what I wanted.
Oh, like a scrapbook. Yeah. Like you go and you talk to an old person, they're like, December 16th. I got a pair of shoes. 1908. And you're like, what? Oh my gosh. Like, I can't even remember what I ate last week.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I took 1,000 pictures of it. It's on my Instagram. Like,
I hate the people. I hate it with all my heart. The people that promote CrossFit. Shut up. Nobody cares. Go away and never come back.
I don't know. I feel like,
I hate them, Mona.
I'm not into CrossFit, but I kind of dig it. Like, if whatever you're into, just be like,
But I feel like they're bragging. They want the likes. Oh, my God, I went from being fat to skinny. Now, when I was fat and I was losing the weight, I did brag a little bit on social media. But then you realize the haters aren't going to care. It's like you got to do it for yourself. That's how I view it. I think it's just people seeking attention.
I almost really love, like, when girls take selfies and then they have, like, 4 likes. Like, to me, I'm like... It's so sad. I just want to write on there, like, stop doing this.
And I love when they have some quote and they think people think that they came up with that, but they took that from Tumblr or Twitter.
Yeah, you're like, oh, Marilyn Monroe said all this authentic
Appreciate
shit.
life. Or I love when they have the memes and they think that Drake said it.
Oh, yeah. Like, and first of all, who gives a fuck what Drake says? Like
he was in Degrassi.
He's so corny. Like, God, it's like let's talk about participation awards. Like, his rap lyrics are having a sprained ankle. You're like he has the rap lyrics of a soccer mom.
And then he thinks he's so tough. He's from the rich suburbs of Toronto. Badass, you know.
He's a Jewish kid. Like,
is he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I mean, like, he's Jewish and black, but like, I mean, he had a bar mitzvah. Like, how
badass?
Thug, yeah, like how thug life. You're like, all right, Maz. Like,
Ice Cube in the '90s is laughing at him.
Yeah, even
you pussy.
I know. I mean, even Ice Cube was like a nerd. Like, oh my gosh, I kind of hope that, like, I don't know. I just want to. That's the one thing, like, for life transitioning now, where you're just like, I mean, before I was married, I've had to have like law like jump in on fights for me. Like, I'm just like a kind of like a little crazy bit of a person.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like, oh, how can I plan my like week of meals out? So I'm hoping that I can keep like an easy balance so that I'm not like murdering people in 10 years.
Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? How does this work with being a comic that's now pregnant and going to have to deal with another life? Do you want to get big, or is this going to hold you back?
I don't know. I think it kind of is forcing me to do some other. It's actually, I think it's overall, it's forcing me to be better. It's forcing me to write more. It's forcing me to use my time a little bit more constructively. So I don't think I ever did this I never was like, oh, I want to become a famous comic.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I think in your mindset of saying, I want to be famous versus I want to be really good at doing something.
Yeah.
Is like, they're like two different things, because I think you can have the drive of being like, I want to be a famous comic, and you could do it. You can become a famous comic, but like, I mean, you look at things like on, like, speaking of Facebook, like Reality Check. One of my favorite comics that's like gone through, that used to be a middle, now he's a headliner, was on Letterman like a year ago.
Who?
Johnny Beaner. He's great. Like,
oh, he's so funny.
He's so funny, right? Like, so he was the highest thing that you could possibly get on, right? Like, he got on Letterman before like it switched over. And then you like fast forward where he's like signing up to be an Uber driver. Like, it is like it's just such a big roller coaster with comedy. Like, you're making money, then you're not making money. You're what's in and popular at this moment, and you might not be like 2 years from now. But if you're happy with what you're saying and you're really getting your views across, regardless of whether it's like political or wiener jokes, like, as long as you're true to who you are, I think that's really what it's all about at the end.
And
like,
where can people find your work and what Law's up to? Basically, what you guys are up to in that household.
Pretty much, I mean, on our Facebook and our Instagram, obviously cigarcitycomedy.com. We post a lot of stuff on there. So, I mean, pretty much, like, we're an open book. We post stuff all the time.
You guys are very funny and not in your face, which I like.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because there's too many comics that try to overcompensate. And I'm not even just saying this. That's what I like about Cigar City Comedy is you guys write jokes, but you're not seeking likes. Like, it's actually original posts. Like what JB puts up, or Matt Fernandez, or Michael Murillo.
Like a beast. Like, he's awesome.
And John Jacobs now. He has been hustling.
Yeah, he has. I mean, it's just, and it's, I mean, the best thing to me is that everybody, like, you know, a team is made out of all sorts of different kind of people doing, where, like, if you come to any Cigar City Comedy show, you're going to see, like, different comics, different views, different deliveries, different stories, different backgrounds.
Have you been to John Jacobs' show on Monday?
No, I was supposed to go this Monday.
Oh,
it's
so insane. You got to go.
But everyone's doing the roast for John J. Murray, who's also part of Cigar City Comedy over in Dunedin. So that'll be a really fun one. He's a good guy. Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, I just can't say enough about, like, our local group of comics. I would want to say, like, writing-wise, Tampa is like way better than any other area that I've been able to, like, perform.
Tampa is not a major market compared to Los Angeles or Chicago or New York City, but I would put it up there. Like, there is a ton of local talent. Yeah,
I just think that just kind of how we were talking earlier about it being like a transient area.
Yeah.
Like that, just there's so many people from other places. you don't have that crutch. Like when I would go back to Philly and head over to Helium or something like that, you walk in and there's a bunch of very funny, good performers that are entertainers there, but they're banking on doing like a Go Birds, Go Eagles, Dallas Sucks, something very like centric to that location. But you can't really get away with doing that here in Tampa because so many people are from Ohio, so many people are from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, just all over the country. You're really forced to write for a broad spectrum of people.
That makes sense because you can't offend somebody that might be in the crowd because they might not be an Eagles fan. They might be a Cowboys fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even. I think it's the opposite. It's like you have to write that you are going to offend somebody, and then be able to still make it funny, which really just like kind of flexes your writing muscles. You just have to work harder here. You have a shit ton of old people. You have a shit ton of young people. If you're working at a club, you have to be sure to cover the whole gamut. You have to make grandmom laugh, and you have to make like this girl who's swiping on Tinder in the first row laugh. You know, so.
I think you guys are going to take over. This is your year. I like what John J. Murray's doing, what Joe Riga's doing, what John Jacobs is doing. So this is going to be the year for Cigar City Comedy.
I think so.
Well, Mona, keep up the good work, and it's been a lot of fun having you on Happy Hour.
Oh, thank you. It's been wonderful. Thanks for having me.
This has been Happy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, saying peace out.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.